Hi, and welcome to this training video on setting up your commission structure. So the first thing that we're going to do is go into Setup by clicking on the name of the user and Setup. Then we will click on the folder on the top left and go down to Commission Setup. Alright, so let's go over some of the different features that we have. RealtyAPX provides the most dynamic commission structure in the industry right now. We're able to do a lot of different things. So the first thing that you should notice there's 4 different tabs here. We're going to start on just talking about users. So users, every time you create an agent in the system, they will be automatically uploaded to the user's database. So you can see Jerry S. I just barely added him as a user, and he's now been brought over to our commission screen. So the next thing we're going to do is to start in plans. So you're going to have a bunch of plans that you have for your brokerage. Maybe you only have one, and that's totally fine. So we're going to go ahead and create a new plan, our commission plan. So we'll call this the bronze plan. The next feature you'll notice on here is the max cap value. So if a plan, for example, if the bronze plan has a cap value of a certain amount, you'll want to enter that in. So let's say after $100,000 of fees, that this plan will no longer apply to the agent. So if that's the case, you'll put that cap value at $100,000 and you'll click Save. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to need to add specific plan items to our bronze plan. So if I click Add New Plan Item, you'll see that this screen has a couple different things going on. So first, why don't we go ahead and add our first plan item. So let's go ahead and assume that within this plan, the agent starts out at a 60-40 split. So we'll just call that the 60-40 plan item. The next thing you'll notice on here is there's commission fee and commission percentage. So commission fee, if you put in a commission fee, that is a flat amount that the agent will automatically have to pay the brokerage. So if you have a $1,000 fee that's associated with the 60-40 fee that is always taken out, then you would enter in that amount. However, in this case, it's most likely you'll want a percentage of the gross commission amount that the agent would receive. So you'll put the commission percentage as 40%. The next thing you'll notice is minimum and maximum amount. Minimum amount, what that's saying is if you have a scenario where you say, okay, I will get 40% as the brokerage is getting 40% of this fee, but a transaction, doesn't matter how much the transaction sold for, I'm getting a minimum of a certain amount, then you can go ahead and enter that in the minimum amount section. The next is a maximum amount. So this would be the scenario where, let's say I sold a home for $40 million, but in this plan, I can only get a max, as a brokerage, I can only get a max fee of, let's say, $200,000. So that's the minimum and maximum amounts that you'll want to apply if those apply for your specific plan. Alright, the next part of this plan detail is the minimum and maximum cap amount. What that means is, let's say for our minimum cap amount, if this is our first default plan that's being applied, you'll probably want to put that at 0. And then you'll have a maximum amount. So let's say an agent is using a 60-40 structure up until they hit $40,000 for the year in fees. So that would be a maximum cap amount of $40,000. So what that's saying is once the agent hits $40,000, that this specific 60-40 plan will no longer apply. Now if you have a transaction count, so let's say this plan applies for the first 10 transactions that the agent completes, then you'll want to do that. So that is, so if you have 0 minimum transaction account and then up to 10, then you would apply this specific plan item. The next is apply to sales price or apply to gross commission income. So what that's saying is if I have a sales price of $100,000, right, and the commission amount that the agent would receive, or that the title company is going to pay the brokerage, for example, was 3%. That means the gross commission income amount would be $30,000. Or sorry, $3,000. So if I have a $100,000 transaction and a 3% commission fee, the gross commission income is $3,000. In most fees, you'll want to apply them to gross commission income. So in this scenario, if I were to take 40% of $3,000, that would be $1,200. So if I click apply to gross commission income, that's saying that this fee will be worth $1,200. If you were to click apply to sales price, that's saying you want to take this 40% out of the sales price of $100,000. So in that case, this fee amount would be $40,000. Like I said before, apply to gross commission income is the most generally used option for specific plan items, but just so you know what the difference was between those. All right, and the last part of a specific plan item is include in plan cap or pay after cap exceeded. If I check include in plan cap, that's saying I want every fee amount that we get for this 60/40 amount to be included in that overall amount that we created for the cap when we created the bronze plan. So if I click include in plan cap, any amount will go automatically to the amount that's being counted for the cap of the bronze plan in general, not for just this specific plan item. And then if I do pay after cap exceeded, that's saying that whenever a cap is exceeded, I still want this fee to be charged. So in this case, we're gonna not check that because we have these caps set up for the specific purpose, so we'll go ahead and click save. All right, let's go ahead and create another plan item. So let's go ahead and do a transaction fee. So the transaction fee, let's say that that's a flat commission fee of $1,000. I'm not going to walk through each of these amounts again because you should understand from the previous example. But let's say it's a $1,000 transaction fee applied to gross commission income. And let's say that this is a pay after cap exceeded. So that says whenever any cap is exceeded, whether it's the bronze plan or the specific plan, plan item cap, this will be paid after that is exceeded. So let's say, you may want to do this because you don't want an agent to have no fees taken from them for a transaction because there's still work that's done from the brokerage. So maybe they exceeded all their caps, but you still are going to take that minimum amount of the $1,000 transaction fee. So we'll go ahead and click save there. And then the last example I'm going to show you, so let's say that we have this 60/40 plan, but once we hit our cap of that, once again we'll go into here, the cap of $40,000, we want to switch to a, let's say an 80/20 plan. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll do the commission percentage of 20%. There's no minimum or maximum amount on this, let's say. So now the minimum cap amount would be the $40,000, and the maximum, let's just say, is $80,000. So what that's saying is this specific percentage fee of 80/20 will not begin to be charged until the agent hits $40,000 of cap, and then it will go until the agent hits 80, and at that point it will stop. The last part is minimum transaction count and maximum. So if you remember in the previous example, we did 1 to 10. So let's say you also want to have a transaction mode of 10 to 20 of when this plan will be applied. And it's important to note that it's an either or. So either, if you hit a cap amount of let's say 40,000 and then this plan will begin, or if you hit a minimum transaction count of 10, whichever one comes first will be applied. So it's kind of an either or option there. So we'll go ahead and click apply to gross commission and include in plan cap. Alright, so I've walked you through how to make your plan. So that's the first thing that you'll want to do. On a side note, if you are not using Account Fusion, you can put in your external reference so that it matches up with QuickBooks when you export this. But that is just for if you're not using Account Fusion. So next you'll want to go to users. So if you start with a user, so let's say this new user we created, Jerry S. So we're going to assign him a commission plan. So let's assign him the bronze plan that we just created. The next is the cap amount feature you'll see here. So within this cap amount, what that's saying is that you want this specific user to have a cap for his plan that will override what is set as the specific bronze plan. So if we set the specific bronze plan cap of, let's see, it's $100,000, but we want Jerry to only have a cap of $80,000, let's say, because he negotiated that. We'll go ahead and put $80,000 in there. The next important feature is select a cap period. So what that means is you're gonna when the cap period begins. So the most generally used option will be annual anniversary. What that's saying when the actual user began their cap period. So let's say they just came on right today. Today is the 13th of June, and that's saying okay, this cap period will have an anniversary, so that 1 year starting June 13th. So every June 13th, the cap will be reset, and the agent will start again. So that's, as you can see, there's different options: semi-annual, quarterly, monthly, and so that's what the anniversary, annual anniversary cap period means. You also see there's other options. So annually, that's just saying if you selected annually, that's just saying you want to start on January 1st of every year. So you're saying the cap would end, if I selected annually, that cap's going to end on December 31st of this year. Even though we started halfway through the year, that's just what that's going to, it's automatically going to start on January 1st, restart on January 1st of the next year. And the last thing is a rolling 12 months. So what that's saying is it's kind of a rolling amount. So if I had a rolling 12 months, you know, the cap amount would be being added for the first 12 months. So let's say I start in June, it will go from June to June. But next, when I get to July of next year, now it's going to be from July to July. So the previous July to the current July. And so that amount will kind of, you know, carry over from each month, kind of like a rolling 12 months. So that's how that feature works. So, you know, we're going to select annual anniversary because that makes the most sense right now for what our situation is. The starting cap value, so if they came over at a certain cap, you can set them and that's what they'll start at instead of 0. Same with starting transaction account. If you have that, you can select their starting transaction account. And then we'll go ahead, if they have a commission fee, so if they're set to receive a certain fee on top of the commission percentage that they will receive, you can go ahead and do that and click Save. All right, and the last feature that we want to go over is teams. So if you have commission teams, which is often a scenario, you can go ahead and create a new team. So let's just name this the Delta team. I have cool names at this brokerage. And then we will go and you'll select the commission plan that the team is on. So let's just say they're on the silver plan. And then the same exact thing applies with cap amount. So if you want a cap amount that overrides a specific plan amount, then you can put in a cap amount there. We'll select their start date as today. And then the same thing with starting cap value. If you want them to start out with a cap value of any amount or a transaction count, you can do that as right there. So you'll click Save. And once they've been added, you'll go ahead and add different members. So if you'll just select them from the user base. So if I wanted to add Jerry S., if they have a commission fee, you can put that in there. Once again, that's a fee that will, a flat fee that will automatically be taken out. And then based on, so let's just put a fee there right now. And let's say there's 2 people on the team and they each get 50% of income. So I'll click Save and add a new member. She's going to get 50% income as well. It's important to note that you always need to make the commission percentage equal 100%. So no matter how many people there are, the percentages have to equal 100% in order for this to work. So just an example, so let's say we had a net commission amount of let's say $1,000. So we had our gross commission amount, all the fees were taken out from the silver plan. Now we have our net commission amount of $1,000, so that's how much is set to be given out to the agents. The fee amount, if you have a fee amount, that will be taken out first. So 1,000 minus 100, that's 900. So that's going to be $900 that is now split between the two at 50%. So the fee amount will be taken out first and then the percentages. So that just know that if you do have a fee amount, that's how that will work. So, and that is the team and how you set that up. So we've gone over each of the different elements of how to set up your dynamic commission structure. I know this video is a little long, but it's going to help you to be able to set your commissions up exactly how you want it, and it will work just for your brokerage, and to be able to use that with our accounting system is very useful. So if you have any questions, let us know. But I hope this video has helped you and you'll be able to get on your way to setting up your commission structure.